Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with The Nation. I heard them on the mic in my ears. The Nation. Employers reject NLC's plan to shut down economy. Cooperate with lawmakers, Sanwo-Olu tells 37 commissioners and advisors. U.S., China owe half of world's 23 trillion, 235 trillion naira debts. Food energy prices push inflation to highest level in 18 years. Battle rages over rector in Osun Poly. NIMC moved to Interior Ministry to speed up passport issuance. Tinubu, Abiodun, others felicitate Alake at 80. NEMA's alert, flood to pound 50 communities in 13 states. CNG buses on test run in Ogun. Gains of autonomy for Varsities by BC. Okay, which story are we starting with in The Nation?
Good news. NIMC, according to the Minister for Interior, has now been moved from the Ministry of Communications to the Ministry of Interior because, of course, it is a very important prerequisite to getting your passport to have your NIN number. And so, and the NIN, according to them, in this report, somebody said undisclosed, unconfirmed information that they had is that the NIN portal has been down for over a month. And so they're hoping that when this synergy, this collaboration happens, improved services will, or their services will improve and the NIN will continue to give the numbers as fast as possible. The Minister for Interior also said that about 60,000 of the 200,000 passports outstanding have been met and then issued out. And so we're hoping that, I am hoping that the requirement for NIN will speed up name corrections as well, because I have that problem. I have a correct data with the NIN, but the passports, they make mistakes, and you're required to travel to Abuja. But I know for NIN, mistakes are done within your state. Hopefully, this will improve some of these services that are bottlenecks for us anyway.
He's working. I like
Should
that
I take
about
the
him.
Nima?
Go ahead,
You can take Nima. I'll take my...
Alake.
Yeah.
Alake. Okay. So the National Emergency Management Agency has said that 13 states and 50 communities, mostly in the north, are likely to witness heavy rainfall, and it may lead to heavy flooding. That's between September 13th and 17th. Today is 14th, right? So, you know, this week. So NEMA is saying that has given us a list of these states and communities within the states that are likely to be affected by this flooding. We have in Kebbi State, it started by Kano State, Sumaila, Kunchi likely to be affected. Kebbi State, so many communities in that, a few communities in that state will be affected. We also have Niger State, Kontagora, Meshego, and New Busa communities will be affected. Kwara State as well, Zamfara, Wakaranamud, and many other communities as well. Bauchi, communities there as well. And Taraba State too, but no state. The Adamawa State in Adamawa State as well, some of the communities will be affected. Yobe State, Gombe State. So these are, many of the states that will be affected and the communities. So alert is going out right now, to let these communities know. But, we always talk about this, where we say we get this annual, almost like clockwork warnings. But, what exactly do we do for the next one that is to come? How are we handling it differently? So we have either we have no loss of, life or property, because we remember last year the sort of pictures we saw, and I hope that we don't see that as well this time around. We need to build on doing it better.
Let me take the major headlines. So private employers of labor have cautioned NLC, saying that the proposed strike will be counterproductive if it goes ahead, that they hope that NLC will be willing to negotiate, go back to the dialogue table with federal government. According to them, NLC must seek opportunities, better opportunities for its members to cushion the subsidy removal pain rather than going on a strike, or continue the dialogue with government. Other organizations, if you recall, President of the NLC, Joe Ajero, had called out workers on a 2-day warning strike and said that they will have a total shutdown of the economy in 2 weeks if the pump price is not reversed and subsidy, well, no, they didn't say subsidy should be returned, but pump price should be reversed to the original price. However, various organizations and various groups have also said that Dialogue is a preferred means to negotiate with the government. That strikes are therefore preventable. The thing that both governments and organized labor should find a common ground. The Director General specifically of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, as Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde, said that the proposed strike will be counterproductive, adding that it will hurt more the employers and the employees more. So hope that they would stop down.
So I just wanted to take that the president and the governor of Ogun State have felicitated with the Alake of Egbaland, who is 80 today, and they have rejoiced and said he's an exemplary leader. He was an exemplary military officer, and is still an exemplary royal father. All the Council of Chiefs and Sons of Daughters of Egbaland,
Including yourself?
including myself,
You must
who my own grandmother actually was his descendant of. You know, I watched the film recently. Yeah, it's out now.
It's on Prime or Netflix?
It will be.
I think it's Prime.
It will be on Prime.
No, I think it's Amazon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's showing in cinemas, I think, right now. So she drove him his.
Oh, was that him?
The Alake, not this him.
Alake.
particularly, but
He's
his-
uncle.
Alake.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always remember him as the monarch with one wife. I always remember that. Anytime I remember seeing him, I remember this is the monarch that has one wife, the wife of his youth, and they're still together till today, happy. And
I've actually met him.
congratulations to
He's
him.
quite a nice.
He's come on the show.
Takes
He's
this
been on the show.
No, the Alake.
Alake has been
Yes.
on the show.
Yes.
No, I
Alake has
wasn't on
been.
the show.
You were not around.
Alake
You were
was
not
on
even
the
in the country, but we enjoyed it.
Very, very regal. Very came in
All
and
those, they were blowing the
Yes.
stuff. It was just.
let's move on.
on
Let's
the show?
move-
Oh,
Yes, Obankio. I remember
the
them.
video. I was there to tell you.
Let us move on to the punch.
So which one? Happy birthday, Alake.
Alake, why can you?
Alake. That's what I
You
said.
say Alake?
No, I said Alake. Even if I said Alake, it's still the same, the correct pronunciation. Maybe not the correct intonation.
The punch. We have very few minutes left.
Is it not you? Is it not you?
Asuu parents protest as more varsities hike their fees. Libya flood kills 6,000 victims buried in mass graves. One feared killed as flood wreaks havoc in Lagos estate. Naira weakens to 950 to the dollar. Forex scarcity worsens. Land grabbers violent returned to Lagos leaves trail of blood and deaths. Manufacturers slash outputs. Job over forex crisis. Slain soldiers, over 6,000 family members get insurance claims. And FG predicts heavy rainfall flooding in 48 towns. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay, let me quickly start with the picture story. The flood in Libya is so heart-wrenching.
Very,
to
very
see,
painful.
Very heartbreaking to see how the flood destroyed the entire town, and the death toll right now is over 6,000 according to the CNN. But good news is that the president, our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has shown support, and he said he's ready to provide essential support to people hit with that devastating flood in Libya. Also, the ministry under Secretary for Unity Government in Tripoli, because there are two rival governments, saying that the mortuaries are overwhelmed, the hospitals are out of service, and there are bodies lying everywhere right now. This is also showing that a pandemic might follow the flood, and it's scary. I'm hoping that the world turn this time around to Libya as well as
I hope America is happy with itself.
with itself, yes.
Because they are the ones that destroyed that country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on. Another story.
Yeah, they said one person was feared killed in a flood in the Gatehouse Gold Crescent estate in Lagos State, and the residents have expressed fear that it's been happening, but this was on Tuesday. The rain that fell was like the worst one. It says it's always flooding here, and it's been like this since 2007. But there is a quarrel between the LSDPC and the Public Works Corporation. One is saying, no, it's not on our jurisdiction anymore, because the residents are saying, please come and do this. At the canals, the flood comes from the canals. When the canal comes into their estate, so they are quarreling about who is responsible for it.
That was still reviewing punch. Miriam had a story.
Yes. The Naira has fallen again. They said fell to further to the dollar on Wednesday. That was yesterday. Closed at 950 Naira to the dollar at the parallel market, and at the I&E forex window, it closed at 758 Naira 12 kobo to the dollar, and that. The report said they spoke to different BDC operators, and all of them, they gave nearly the same figures. They started off the day, they said at 9:30, and by the end of the day, they were already selling at 9:50. So the Association of Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria is asking that CBN should grant them a no objection approval for the BDCs to fully go digital on all their operational correspondence, and they believe that doing that would lead to a true market rate discovery, enhance the achievements of the federal government, harmonize foreign exchange rate policies, and promote effective monitoring of BDC's transaction for statutory and regulatory requirements. So we'll see.
In a related story, actually, so the manufacturers are also complaining very, very hard because, according to them, the scarcity of foreign exchange is hitting hard on their production capacity. According to the Deputy President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, who was speaking yesterday, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, cited that the prevailing economic realities as a big factor that has forced manufacturers to scale down. They just can't find the money. Manufacturers can't find the exchange rate to bring in the raw materials to actually produce. And according to them, since the economy is organic, anything that affects one part affects the others. He also said that if the consumer is spending lower, it's hard for them to purchase, and if they cannot purchase, the manufacturers have no reason to buy more raw materials to produce more. Yeah. So it's a whole ripple effect, and this foreign exchange is really affecting many manufacturers, and it's causing a lot of problems as regards production. And the money, according to him, the payment from importation has reduced by 450 billion since 2023 Q1. Really interesting. Okay, another story in Punch. Should we move on to Vanguard? Forex scarcity sends Naira tumbling to 930. Took that story. $600 million trapped funds. Tinubu directs CBN to meet foreign airlines. Sanwo-Olu to cabinet members, no room for excuses. Ransom from kidnapping, fueling terrorism and banditry, says National Counterterrorism Center. Abidjan to Lagos Highway. ECOWAS moves to perfect design for project. MTN raises concerns over vandalism of site infrastructure in Southeast. Mile 2 of Apapa Expressway, excuse me, hold last month police, others accountable, says truck drivers. OAU students, management in shutdown, excuse me, over school fee hike. IGP declares killer of DPO Bako in Rivers wanted. Okay, which story are we taking?
Should I just go with the Papa Tinkan Island? So this morning,
I knew you would take it.
Of course I will. I've come back to Lagos.
I said, no, Nima will take this story. Let me leave it.
This morning I was in 35 minutes traffic because tanker drivers are on one way from Alakija inwards Free Niger. And those of us on the only service lane, because the way the Badagry Road is constructed, the service lane is the only lane we can be on from the communities along it. If you're on the middle lane, you're going straight to Cotonou or Okoko. There's no other alternative. And so you leave us helpless at the mercy of the tanker drivers. And that's one problem. I hope Lagos State seriously thinks through this time around. When you get to Mile 2, it is a lockdown inwards Apapa, all the way to Second Rainbow. Nobody is smiling. Tankers, containers, they're jam-packed on the road. So you see one way from Sele on the Apapa Expressway, as if anything can happen. This morning, it was a Navy helicopter rescue team blocking me in traffic. All sorts of things happening right there. And the report is detailed. From extortion of drivers, according to the report in the Vanguard, by officials of the task force in Lagos State, to the works happening. And we know that the rehabilitations are ongoing right now. People are saying it's a state of emergency. The last one GM, this story says that they are being forced out of Apapa by police officers and other members of the task force, disturbing LASMA from controlling the traffic. And so it's a myriad of issues, too much hydra-headed problem that I hope that this time around, if the governor can even sit through the task force meeting and see.
Okay. I wanted to take the IGP declaring the killer of the DPO Bako wanted. The gifts of David Okpara, popularly known as Tubaba, has been declared wanted by the Inspector General of Police as the prime suspect in the killing of the DPO. It's the DPO was coming from a raid of criminals, a hideout, when he was ambushed by this group, members of the Iceland cult group, and
It was the most
killed.
horrific, horrendous thing I've seen. I saw it online. They had cut him to pieces.
Can you
They
imagine?
called his privates, and they were talking to him, telling him that, say, you see it now? I mean, it was a horrible, and the barbaric is the word I was looking for.
And they put up the video.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Horrible. And they were talking to, it was a terrible, and they were saying that see yourself now. You know, talking to him that see yourself after all the wahala. It was a cult group. They cut his pieces, hands. Yeah. It was a very barbaric situation, and I hope they catch these guys. And it was mentioning his name. They were talking, so they were not even hiding. They're not afraid. They're mentioning their names, talking to each other.
I was wondering why governor would place 100 million on.
They said that they've put his picture. This David Okpara. They've put his picture and they've said he's wanted for cultism and murder. You know, so hopefully.
Oh, it's very painful.
Yeah, so I have a story here. MTN, they were at the inaugural Anambra Investment Summit. They held in Oka, and the summit was titled Role of Corporate Governance in Building Sustainable Business. And while he was there, he said MTN raised an alarm concerning widespread vandalization of its sites, infrastructure, and national assets. It says that one of the things that they are grappling with is deliberate damage to fiber optic cables during construction activities. He says that they also confront issues related to signal boosters within the market area. And they're just, calling on, they said these vandalism affects the service that they're able to provide for customers. Customers, they need to, you want to make calls in times of emergencies. These are services that will be hampered because of this behavior, and they're asking with partnership with government so that they can ensure the safety of their sites. I took this story really, it's not just because about MTN, but just generally the Nigerian attitude is that when you do things like that, you really do affect yourself. You're hurting yourself. And as a community, we need to stand up and call each other out and keep each other accountable. And then government can also play its part.
So you remember there was a meeting yesterday with the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. Yes, an important all stakeholders meeting we had. So what was said was that according to the report, President Bola Tinubu has directed the central bank to create a quarterly reconciliatory meeting with foreign airlines to address the backlog of the $600 million which has been trapped in our system for a while. We came also as an aircraft manufacturer, Airbus industry, on the sideline of the summit, said that was set to increase their domestic air traffic by 5%. It was just a conversation that was needed to have because many of the airlines were having issues getting their money, repatriating their money back to their country. And the minister had a meeting with them yesterday. And for part of the meetings that was agreed at the UAE with the president was these thorny issues concerning repatriation will be resolved. And that was part of what was discussed at the meeting. So the key areas was the issue of infrastructure to be developed. He said that the global events further exposed the immense contribution and importance of air transport as a catalyst for economic growth and vital engine for global socio-economic growth, and that they hope to be achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals with these pointers. Okay, moving on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Any other story in Vanguard? None. Picture story here. What my years as ambassador taught Mrs. Awolowo Dosunmu. Proceeds of kidnapping used to finance terrorism, says Onsa. Nigeria ranks highest in airport charges in Africa. 13 states at risk of flood. Number ones are 6,000 dead in Libya flood. NIN passport crisis. FG moves NIMC to Interior Ministry. Reps deny collecting 100 million naira palliatives and largesse. Okay, which story are we taking? Nobody has the major headline?
Had it.
Okay, which story?
Okay.
Terrorism, finance. It just, so we had the coordinator, National Counter-Terrorism Center, and the Office of the National Security Advisor, Rear Admiral Yaminu Musa has said that the proceeds that come from kidnapping is being used partly to finance terrorism. This was a workshop, they called it Anti-Kidnap Multi-Agency Fusion Cell Media and Communication Workshop, and just really to talk about how, how almost like the value chain of terrorism and, organized crime, and how they use the money that they get from ransom to further fuel and further, what's the word now, spend on terrorism. It's just basically, what we always say about crime, and that's why the conversation, that's why the conversation always about whether you should pay ransom or you should not pay ransom, because if you are paying ransom, you're sort of inadvertently fueling more terrorism. So these are some of the things that they are discussing and looking for non-kinetic ways or kinetic ways to address them.
Very briefly, the International Air Transport Organization, IATA, has condemned the federal government over what it's called excessive taxes charges. This is for the airports. He was speaking at the 7th Aviation Africa Summit when he said that the airport charges in Africa are in Nigeria are the highest in Africa. He says Abuja is like the highest, followed closely by Lagos Airport. He lamented the stagnant growth of the region.
All right, let me just read this. We can't take the stories, but we'll be having Adeyemo, U.S. Deputy Treasury Secretary, to visit Nigeria to bolster economic ties. So that's Wally Adeyemo. He's going to be coming in very soon. Konjo Wela, my first 30 months at WTO have been exciting and challenging. History as NUPRC picked 42 winners for its gas flare commercialization bid round.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.